Here's one, same emotion showing up. I had a session where I removed over 4 trapped emotions of grief. I tested to make sure it was not the same trapped emotion, but it was strange that there were so many of the same emotion. Is that normal? Well, yeah, that can happen. Sure, it's kind of unusual, but that can definitely happen. I've seen that happen once or I don't know, on a few occasions myself. It's unusual, but a person's body might get on a roll, and their body might decide, you know what, let's get rid of all of these right now. So that can happen. So here's a question: heart wall material changing. When you find a heart wall, do you find what each trapped emotion is made up of? No. A different material, or is the whole heart wall made of the same material? I've had clients whose heart wall has changed material as we release it. Is that normal? Well, I've never worried about this. I think the vast majority of the time, a person's heart wall is made up of the material that you find. If you do that at the beginning of a session, that would be really a lot of work to test each different trapped emotion to see, what I mean. If I suppose if you get a person who has a heart wall, I mean, anything is possible, right? You could have a person whose heart wall is made up of, you know, 20 different emotions and 20 different kinds of materials. I've never seen that myself. I've never seen it. It could happen, I suppose, but boy, what a lot of work that would be. Holy Toledo, I wouldn't want to go there. That would just take way too long. In fact, I'll tell you something. When I was in practice, in my brick and mortar practice, I knew the heart wall was a really important thing. It was probably the most important thing of all that we could get rid of for somebody. But, it was a little different. And back in practice, I rarely ever even figured out what a person's heart wall was made out of. Okay, what their symbolic material was. I didn't worry about it because I figured I'm already so far out on a limb here with what I'm doing. If I start telling people, well, you got a heart wall that's made out of mayonnaise and it's got a banana on top and it's 10 miles thick, figured they're going to come lock me up, right? So I just didn't worry about it. And I have seen cases where a heart wall has changed material as you release it, and like I said, that can happen, but I wouldn't worry about it. I would just figure out, like I said, I think the vast majority of the time, the heart wall is one material, and it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're getting rid of it. And if you want to figure out the thickness and then use that as a gauge to see how things are going, I think that's always really fun. And especially if you're testing somebody live and you can show them, okay, it was 6 feet a minute ago before we released that emotion. Is it 6 feet now? And their arm goes down. And you can test and figure out exactly what the thickness is and then show them. And by the way, self-testing is really, if you're not there yet, that's really where you want to be. You want to be doing self-testing to get all your answers because testing other people is great, and we want you to know how to do that. But ultimately, it's way faster to test yourself. After a while, I got to a point where the only time I would test anybody else was just to demonstrate something to them. Here's what I'm finding. Let me show this on you. Okay, hold your arm straight out. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And then you can feel that it's either strong or weak, just to help their level of faith and belief in what I was doing. All right, here's a great question. Fight or flight and weight gain. Could you please explain how living in fight or flight affects weight gain? All right. Well, let's think about this for a minute, okay? Let's actually go to the body code for a second. Let's take a look at the nervous system, all right? And we'll go into the peripheral nervous system, into the autonomic nervous system, and let's take a look, okay? All right. If we look over here, now when you're stuck in fight or flight mode, all right, it means that your sympathetic nervous system is kind of stuck on high, okay? In other words, these two nervous systems, kind of like the yin and the yang and the yin yang symbol, they kind of rise and fall in their activity levels depending on what it is you're doing, okay? So in other words, when you're eating or you're trying to digest your food, you're relaxing, etc., this nervous system should really be taking over, okay? When you're when you're in a state of panic or fear or high levels of activity, then your sympathetic nervous system takes over. Now, when this system takes over, let's see what happens. Okay, these are the actual results. Okay, it dilates the pupil, inhibits salivation, so you're not producing as much saliva, which is the first step in digestion. Accelerates your heart rate. It inhibits your digestive activity. Okay, and then all these other things that go on. Okay, you're producing stress hormones from the kidney. Glucose is getting released by the liver, contributing to high blood sugar. Okay. On the other hand, over here in the parasympathetic nervous system, what we're doing is we're looking at a few things. All right. One of the things that's happening is your digestive activity is getting stimulated because you're in that more of a relaxed state. Here's where you digest. You're producing more saliva. Okay, your heart's not going to be racing. It's relaxing. Your gallbladder is getting stimulated to help you digest fats and so on. So these various things are going on. So if you're stuck in fight or flight mode, how can that contribute to weight gain? Well, one of the easiest ways to look at this is that lots and lots and lots of weight gain is actually caused, or people that are obese and carrying excess weight, a lot of the reason for that is due to toxicity. Okay. Now, think about it this way. When you're in fight or flight mode, your immune system is depressed. Okay. And that means that that your liver, which is the biggest piece of your immune system, it's not going to be breaking down toxins as efficiently as it would be if you were actually in a digestive mode like you are over here with this other nervous system that's more active. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, and if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, if you're walking down the trail and a bear suddenly stands up and roars at you, this system, the sympathetic nervous system, immediately kicks into full activity, full gear. And it starts releasing glucose into your blood. It starts releasing fat into your blood so you can use those for fuel, to fuel your muscles. But it also tends to put a damper and shut down the immune system. Why? Well, you really don't need to be fighting off a cold or the flu right now. You're about to become dinner for this gigantic, ferocious animal, right? So that, I think, is probably the biggest contributor here. If you're stuck in fight or flight, you're just not going to be digesting as well. Your immune system's not going to be functioning as well, etc. That, it kind of in a nutshell, to simplify it, I would say that's probably the biggest thing that's going on here now. All right, so hopefully that one helps. That was from Patricia, and she says thank you, Patricia.